Hello, welcome to EdotGdot and Friends. I'm Elden Killian, your host, and we're going to be doing every board game ranked that I've played in the last 10 years. So this list is going to be the fifth list, fifth set. It's going to be games number 331 to 396 of 657 by my records. And this is titled, What Game? Yeah, okay, I'll play that. And we're starting to get in some games that I enjoy. Maybe don't always think about playing all the time, but decent games. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 396, The Ruhr, A Story of Cold Trade. This was an interesting game about moving some coal around, and the one little drawback I would say is that it felt too abstract. Like certain things didn't mesh with the theme of the game, and so it's hard to like remember little details here and there. Just because I enjoy games where there's a solid Euro mechanism, but if it can integrate with the theme just a little bit to where it makes more sense, I enjoy it more. And I didn't feel like that really clicked here with the Ruhr, A Story of Cold Trade. But definitely would like try this one again. Has an average rating of 7 on BGG, which isn't too bad. But the Ruhr, A Story of the Cold Trade. 395, we didn't play test this pasted on theme at all. And then I believe, 394 is we didn't play test this at all. I put these ones back to back. If you remember a few videos ago, we had the Legacies version, which I think has some problems that just makes the game not fun. It's trying to cash in on the Legacy idea. But we didn't play test this at all, and the pasted on theme variant of it are very similar to me. Game wise, I don't know if it's a great game, but I've had a lot of fun. And further down ranked, I had like Adorable Pandering, which kind of has the same issues that we didn't playtest this at all has. If you looked at it objectively from like a game standpoint, but for some reason this game is silly. It's usually over pretty quick. It's probably more fun if you don't read the cards. But I kind of willingly play this one, and I don't know what it is about it. It's silly. The point of the game is very random, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. You play it until you're done with it, and then you move on to something else. But 395, 394, we didn't play test this at all, and the paste on theme at all version of the game. 393, Fairy Tale. This is a card drafting game where you're trying to get cards in your hand so everything kind of synced up to make it so you can score a bunch of points. It's pretty good. I think other games do it better, this idea. But yeah, it's an enjoyable game. I found it just maybe teensy bit difficult with the card text. And I feel like you need to play it a few times to understand how the things mesh together. But solid game, Fairy Tale. 392, Zularedo, the dice game. I played this one live once. I believe it was on one of the websites, and I played it a couple times that way. This is Zularedo, Colorado, good games. The dice game version does play differently and is definitely a different kind of game. But it's a good little solid dice game. Fill some time in. Fish Flippin' Frikadellen. I have only played this in the monster version where you have the 3 versions of the board game on 3 different tables, and we played with like 16 people or something like that. And you're just once you finish one table, you go to the next table and try to finish that table. And it was like the first person to finish all 3 tables. It was chaotic. I think we wanted this to become like a traditional thing at our retreat that we do, but I think I've only played it the one time anyway. It was fun. Freedom to Freeze has some good games that I enjoy, and this one does some interesting things. I wonder how well it would hold up if I was only playing the 1 board version, but the 3 board version is just kind of crazy, and was a hoot to play. 390 Wings of War, Famous Aces. Yeah, I'm not really into like tactical miniature war games. And Wings of War is like World War One planes, and you're using like these cards uh, to show where you're moving, and you're trying to maneuver to get behind. We played with a group of 4 or 6 people, something like that, where we all had different planes, and we played a scenario with the big like Zeppelin that we were trying to attack, and one side was trying to protect it. Yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting game. Um, Not totally my style, but the pace was well. It has enough like strategy and whatever, but it doesn't get bogged down in like. I feel like some games is very deterministic, and this one has enough stuff going on. The fun factor goes up. But Wings of War, Famous Aces, 390, 389 Warband Against the Darkness. I only played this one time. I think I would have enjoyed a second or third play. Because I don't know if I fully understood all the way through, but I remember having a good time by the end of it. And this is like area control type game where you're moving things around. I don't remember all the details very much, but I just remember having a good time with this game. Warband Against the Darkness. Transamerica. It's like a light train game, and moves quickly, inoffensive. Definitely a game I'd play again in the right circumstance. And this is like the good middleweight game that you can play with pretty much anybody. The rules aren't too intense, and you're just trying to get the rail line connected to the cities that you want it to go to. And it's a good game. Transamerica. Too Many Cinderellas. Oh man, this is a fun little deduction where you're not really deduction. You're trying to make it so that the rules by the end point towards your card being the Cinderella, and the Cinderella are all these different characters. Some of them are even men or animals. I think there's a cat in there, and but it's like Cinderella is the person that has all evens or whatever. So if all the even cards can't be Cinderella, or just so you're just trying to make these rules, and it's an interesting little mind game. You plays pretty quickly. Sort of like Love Letter, if you've played a game like that, where it just there's like this level of strategy in there. It's not a super heavy game, and it's just a handful of cards, but it makes you think a little bit. Anyway, Too Many Cinderellas. Temporum. After my first play, I actually really, really enjoyed this game, and I probably would have ranked it a lot higher. After subsequent plays, though, became kind of samey. But this is from the designer of Dominion, Donald X. Vaccarino, and you are jumping these timelines, and in the different timelines and different positions, you can do certain things with drawing cards and playing cards, and you're trying to score enough points quickly enough to win the game. Like I said, the very first play of this, I really enjoyed it. Subsequent plays didn't hit as well for me, and I eventually got rid of this game just to make some room on my shelves. But it's not a bad game, and if somebody wanted to play it again, I definitely would play it. Temporum. 385 Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. This is a lot like the Wings of War we just talked about, but it's in the Star Wars universe. And I like it a little bit better. Essentially in the same area. And this isn't super my style of game, but it's a good time to be had with a few people in fighting, and you get to be the different characters from Star Wars, and they all have their own advantages and disadvantages. And again, just this tactical flying game that's interesting enough for me to enjoy it. Shakespeare. This is a game about trying to put on a play, and you're going through trying to build sets and all these things. All just very Euro-y. I'm trying to get the right actors to get in there to make it more enjoyable for the people who are going to come show it. It's a very interesting game. I would like to play this one again to see if it would hold up. But yeah, Shakespeare, interesting Euro game about Shakespeare. 383 Rialto, Stefan Feld game. Not one of my higher rated Stefan Feld games, and but I look forward to playing this one some more. I've only played it once, and I honestly don't remember it a whole lot, but I remember it being okay, and so I thought fits right here. Rialto, number 383. Pirates Cove. This is a fun little romp of a pirate game. I've played a handful of these like piratey games that are fun, even if they're maybe not my most favorite games in the whole world. But they're kind of fun. Pirates Cove. This one, trying to remember exactly. You're going around the board trying to get loot. Anyway, Pirates Cove. If you get a chance to play it, give it a go. You good chance you'll like it, at least decent enough, and you'll have a good time. Meeple Circus. This is a silly game. You're trying to there's like the silliness factor, like in the app and the music that gets played, and you have to do certain things while you're trying to stack these meeples in certain ways to score the points by the rules of that round. It is. Yeah, it's a good time. Other games that I feel do similar things to this, I have ranked higher. But Meeple Circus, not a bad little game. In the Shadow of the Emperor, number 380. For years, I wanted to play this game. And I saw it on the shelf at my local game store forever. And I'd look at it all the time. I'd pick it up. Anyway, one day, finally got it. Got it to the table. And it's just too... It needs to be revamped. It needs someone to just fine tune the mechanisms just a little bit. It's a fine game. It has this cool like aging mechanism, which is what originally caught my eye about it. And yeah, I don't know, a little disappointed in it when I played it, but not a bad game. Anyway, In the Shadow of the Emperor, number 380. 379 Mystic Veil. This is a card crafting game where you have these cool plastic cards that you put in sleeves, and you can add more of these plastic cards that layer over it to make the cards more valuable. It's like a deck builder, but instead of your deck getting bigger, each card just gets more valuable. And if I'm remembering right, some of the cards start off as nothing at all. And so it's like, what do? Do you make one card super powerful? Do you spread out the awesomeness around the cards? So you're always getting kind of a little bit of goodness going on. But I don't know. I only have the base game, and it felt a little limited. Maybe if I tried it with some of the expansions, I would enjoy it more. But it was, yeah, it's a fine game. Mystic Veil. Jet Set. This is sort of a maybe slightly more difficult and like involved like Ticket to Ride level game where you're trying to get these jets and these routes. The production value doesn't help it. It's not pretty. It just isn't. But some interesting decisions. It's worth a play if you get a chance to play it. 377 Android Infiltration. This is another Donald X Vaccarino game, but you're trying to get up these levels and you're trying to infiltrate this building, and it was tough. And I don't know if I 100% understood the game while I was playing it, but I had a good time. That makes sense. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play this one again. I don't own it. But it was an interesting game. Android Infiltration. Dimension. This is, you got a bunch of these balls, and these rules come out, and you're trying to arrange the balls as fast as you can so that you follow all the rules. and it's tricky. It's a tricky puzzle, and you think like, oh yeah, I got this down, and then you start going through the score, and it's like, oh shoot. And sometimes you just run into rules that contradict each other, so you kind of have to pick which one you want to try and score, and you're just going to be out the other one. But yeah, it's an interesting little puzzle game. Wasn't too hard for my brain. Sometimes these puzzle games they're just too hard, but this one wasn't, and it was fun. Like the pace of it was good, and it kept it moving. But Dimension 376. I Spy. This is like a how to describe this game? It's like a war like themed game or like espionage, and you're trying to get power in the different countries and fulfill like stuff. And I played it once. I thought it was pretty fun. There's like some secret end game things that happen, which really swung into the game. But made for an exciting little time. I don't remember a ton about it, but I do remember just it was a good game. I had a good time while I was playing it, and I'd play it again. 374, The Adventures, The Temple of Shock. This is a fun game when it comes down to it. Not the style of game I want to play all the time, but it's a good time. You're trying to get through this temple, and the one thing this game can run into is you can run into a situation where you just have to try something crazy, and man, sometimes that crazy thing just pulls off. You're kind of going through the temple at different speeds, and the longer you go, the more reward there is. But then to survive, sometimes you just got to do a crazy thing, and it can be exciting. And anyway, The Adventures, The Temple of Shock. Hyperborea. This was a good game, and I feel like if I play this game more, it would go up in my rankings. As it is, I only played it the one time, and I just remember it being good. I feel like you're drawing things out of there's a lot of positional stuff in it, which is maybe why right now it's not a lot higher. But it's like the position of where the cubes are on the board kind of dictates some of the things that you can do, and stuff like that sometimes slogs the game down a little bit. But this was a good game. I definitely played again. But Hyperborea. 372 Fool by Friedman Freese. This is so in Fool, you're trying not to play the lowest card, and your goal is to get rid of all your cards. But every time you play the lowest card, you don't get to play the next round. And so it's kind of another way to play the same idea, Fuji Flush, which is a lot lighter game. Now, this one, probably need to play this one a few more times. The problem is, like, Fuji Flush is super accessible. I could play that with anybody. Fool, I kind of have to pick who the victims are going to be in that game night, and it's hard. It's been hard for me to get out more often, and so it loses some notches. But it's a solid trick taking game with a little twist. It makes it interesting. 371 Blueprints. Just trying to stack these dice on these blueprint cards according to the blueprints. It's fine. It's a fine dice rolling game. And do you draft in this one? I think you do. You draft the dice and try to get them in the right positions. Yeah, decent game. 370 Ancestry. This is from what's his first name? It's on here. Can't say it. Lang. Guy usually does these bigger games. This one's an interesting family tree game where you are connecting you're connecting characters, and then they have children, and you're going down this family tree, and you're trying to fulfill match up the two sides of the hearts. You're trying to do those things, and it's a decent game. I ended up getting rid of it. I've only done one little coal, and I felt like it was a game maybe I get a little value out of that I wasn't loving 100%. But But every once in a while I see it on sale sometimes. I think about getting it again to give it another go. But anyway, Ancestry, number 370. 20th Century. It's a Vladimir Sushi game. I don't think I realized that. Yeah, this is an interesting game. Only played it the one time. Would like to play it some more, but it was good in my one play. I don't remember exactly how it works off the top of my head. I should have done a little bit of research on this. But anyway, 20th Century, kind of middle of the road game. Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. Castles of Burgundy is a fantastic game, which you will not see on this video or the next video or the video after that. It will be higher than that. I'll let you figure out exactly where it's at. The dice game is not bad. The dice game is maybe just a little too complicated for a roll and write dice game, and sort of like Rolling Ranch in the last video. My roll and writes, I don't want it to be too hard, and this one. There's a lot of like bonuses that you're kind of linking things together. Also, it was printed on really dark, and they gave you these little light colored pencils. So like, which you go get your own pen or whatever. But I felt like that was a printing fail. Anyway, Castles of Burgundy, the dice game, number 368. Empire Builder, 367. Man, nostalgia is strong with this one, but it's fading. I think I've only played it once in the last 10 years, but I've played it a lot. This was sort of my intro to the hobby before I even knew there was a hobby. I remember my sister brought this to a family gathering one time. She had an uncle who was really into game, or her husband's uncle or cousin or something was really into games that introduced them to this. And man, we played this. My family got really into this, and we played this a lot. I don't even know how many times. But yeah, this is an interesting. It doesn't look great, but it has these cool. It's like a crayon rails, what they call it, and so it has like this whiteboardy type material, puzzle pieces you put together. It's the map of the U.S. or North America, or there's several variants of it, including a fantasy style variant of it. But you're just drawing on the board your rail color, and then you can ride your rail with your train, and you are picking up little tokens that represent goods, and you're trying to fulfill them in other cities that you get from contract cards that you draw. And it's just an efficiency game. You're trying to make these deliveries and build out your rail in an efficient enough way where you're making money, and linking together deliveries. You can upgrade your train, make it go faster, make it get bigger, make it do both, and all while not going bankrupt. If you my family didn't like playing with the event cards, because sometimes the event cards are like wash out rail, and if you're not careful, sometimes like you can just get hosed. Like you're running really short on money, and you're depending on a big delivery you're trying to make, and then your rail gets washed out, and you can't rebuild it because you don't have enough money. The game is not super forgiving in that way. But man, a lot of good times playing Empire Builder. Back when I was poor, I found a website where made my own because I couldn't afford the game, and I downloaded that and made my own maps. Found some laminate and laminated them, and couldn't get my family to play with me, so I played by myself. Man, Empire Builder 367, some good days. I played a lot of good games though, and this keeps getting pushed down the list the more and more I play. But a lot of good times with this game. 366 Vault Wars. This is like a fantasy themed Storage Wars, like the TV show where you go buy where they buy these old storage containers that the owners have abandoned. And this is an interesting game. I need to play this one some more. Man, in fact, I need to put it in my little box that I take to whatever, because I think I could. So you're doing these auctions. You do have a bit of limited information in what's in these vaults, and you're just trying to have the best vaults and get the stuff that customers want. And anyway, it's a funky little game. I need to play it some more. Vault Wars. Saboteur. This is interesting. You play this with a big group and teams. where you are different. You're like gnomes in different tribes, different colors, and you're digging down into the countryside. You're trying to find the treasure. And man, what's the win condition in this game? It's been a long time since I played it, but this is a fun game, and you build it out on the table and playing your cards and trying to be useful. But man, Saboteur number 365. 364 Heroescape, the Master Set, Rise of the Valkyrie. This is not a style of game that I love to play all the time, but it's such a cool plastic goodness with these cool painted minis that you get to move around. But when it comes down to it, it's like a 1v1 moving your armies around on the board, but it's just so cool. The table presence is so cool that I actually have a little setup that I have as part of my decoration here in my game room over on the other wall. But yeah, this is a cool game. And there were a bunch of different expansions. I think there were some Marvel ones and just a bunch of different things that you can mix and match and make your armies. But anyway, Heroescape Master Set, the Rise of the Valkyrie. 363 Colt Express. Overall, I don't think I love this game as much as other people do, but it's a nifty little game. You're like, this has a cool table presence. It has this like 3D train. You go on the upper or top of the train, down the train. You're shooting at people. It's a little chaotic, but yeah, it's a good time. Especially with the right group of people, you can have a lot of fun and get into it. But 363 Colt Express. Quingo. The first time I played this game, I thought, man, this is the dumbest game. It's so dumb. But I've played it a lot, and I played it with kids, and kids love it. But it's so simple, but also because it's so simple, I don't know. So what you're doing is when it's your turn, you get to call a number between 0 and 100. There's a little bit of strategy to what number you're picking, and then you roll the die, and then you got to stick that number in that column if you can legally. And I love this game because it uses instead of just randomly giving you stuff, you're making choices about what's going where, and you're kind of strategically putting them down. And no, it's not super long, a little filler game, but anyway, Quingo 362. Twilight Struggle. Oh, this was the number one game on BGG for a long time. It's a 2-player only reenactment of the Cold War. It has a lot of historic cards in it. My problem with this game, and it's a good game, it's like there's 100 different tug of wars happening on the board, and you're trying to balance or tip the balance in key ones throughout the board. But what's hard about this game and like other games like it is it's so dependent on really understanding the deck of cards that are available and the moves and counter moves. And I don't have the energy or the desire to get to know the game well enough, I think, to enjoy it in all of its glory. And so it slides down a little bit, but great game. It really is a great game that's been put together really well. And if this is your style of game, definitely check it out. Twilight Struggle. 360 Fjords. This is another 2-player only game where you're placing out these little settlement village things and trying to carve out a majority on the land. Just a quick little. It's really an abstract strategy game, but it has a little veneer of theme that makes it more palatable to me. If this was just a board in like checkers and you're putting them down, I would not like this game nearly as much. But I hear this is getting a reprint or a reskin. This is coming out again. Anyway, hard game to find, but decent one. Fjords. 359 Morels. This is 2-player game. where you're going through the forest and trying to find mushrooms and fry them up and eat them. And this game is pretty good. I was really excited when I got it and was able to find it. I've been hearing lots of good things about it. There is a little bit of wonkiness in how how things move through the forest, and there's like this timing thing that I always seem to end up on the short end of the stick on. Uh, it just has these cool little walking stick tokens if you get the right version. And anyway, it's an interesting game. If you like two-player card games like that, this is very highly rated. This is a game that you might enjoy. Morel's 359, 358 Rummy Cub, Rummy Cube. I think Rummy Cube is the official way to say it. I always say Rummy Cub because in English, that's how you would pronounce such words. But I'm going to stick to that. But this is probably my highest ranked Rummy game. Really, and what's fun about this one is the just like the tactile clank of the tiles as you pick them up. It moves well. It's a game my parents love, and I've had a lot of good times with my parents playing this game and some of my other siblings, and uh, a lot of good times. And I think why I like this more than a lot of other Rummy variants is even though you might play for a long time over multiple rounds, it's enjoyable throughout. Even when you're losing, each round is kind of fresh, and it's, I don't know, just a good time. But again, a lot of nostalgia with this one, and good family memories. But Rummy Cub, 358, 357 Snapshot. Okay, I want a version of this game that's like on a single wood plank with no ridges, because the game comes and you set it up and it's sort of like the issue I had with like Sorry Sliders. Really fun game, but like it's a plastic or a cardboard board that has to line up so you can slide these discs from one to the other. And I don't know how many times we hit the edge of that board. It was going to be a fantastic shot, but it just hit that little lip where it met and it went away. So I would love for this game to be like a nice built like on a nice crokinole board type material or something like that. But what you're doing is you have this deck of cards and you're trying to get all the goals by getting your disc in different areas of the board. And so there's this flicking game where you're moving around. It's pretty slick. Like I said, if there's a version of this, it's like on a nice wood surface, flat, like smooth wood surface. I would like this game even more. But Snapshot, Boggle, man. So word games, really quick. Something my family really gets into. You play the different strategy where you try to get lots of little words or go for the big point words. And, it's definitely a game where people who know more words and have better pattern recognition skills will do better. But I've had a lot of good time with Boggle. Again, probably not the best game in the world, not my favorite game in the world, but I've had a lot of good time with it. 355 Space Alert. This game is a spectacle. It has a soundtrack that goes with it. And you are working together and you're trying to set up your commands program your commands so you can run the ship and be prepared to fire with oncoming asteroids and stuff like that. They have like things can happen where you can't communicate with other people. This is a real hoot. You need to play with a good group though that enjoys this style of game. And sort of like Galaxy Trucker, where everything part of the fun is just seeing how it's all gonna end up poorly by the end of it. But 355 Space Alert. 1830 Railways and Robber Barons. This is the only 18xx game I've played. I've played it a couple times. I appreciate the game for what it is. It's long. and especially when you play with a full player count, which we did at one time, you so what happened in this game was you can't just do things on your own, especially at the full player count, and people have to kind of help you. And just the way the game is, people who are more experienced are more likely probably going to get people to help them. And so in the game that we played, me and another player, we didn't make a real meaningful decision in this game for probably an hour and a half. The game just kind of happened to us. And some of that was I didn't know the game well enough. I was trying to be cautious, and I was just too cautious. And so I didn't get to run any companies. I didn't have enough money to make a big move to get a company. And I just, for a good hour and a half, I just kind of watched the game happen. Which makes, and if it's not you, if you're running a company, the game is a lot more involved and a lot more interesting. And there are some interesting moves to be had in this game. And I appreciate it. I see the design, like how it's a good design. But I also, it's just not for everybody. And I think I'm one of those people where it's just not entirely what I want to be doing all the time. So I don't play it all the time. But it's a good game. And I'd probably play it again if somebody invited me to play it. But anyway, 354 1830 Railways and Robber Barons. Rattlebones. So 1830 is a real heavy game. Rattlebones is not. This is a roll and move. But it has these sweet dice that you get to adjust as you move around the board. You get to add and customize the dice, not however you want, but you get to customize the dice, and you get to make some strategic decisions on how you build those dice. And I really like how the game ends. The game can go longer or shorter depending on how often the little monkey symbol rolls up. Because every time it rolls up, it comes back from the end of the scoreboard, and when somebody crosses that, crosses the monkey going up the scoreboard, the game will end. It's really interesting. The fact that it's a roll and move, this is like a roll and move done right, but it's still a roll and move, and so it's not going to get real high on my list. But it's an interesting game for sure. Rattlebones. Crude, the oil game. Again, this is an old game, and it kind of shows its age. But it is kind of a fun. It has sort of like that Settlers of Catan vibe, where like you roll something and everybody else has a chance to get something. So you're kind of always interested in what's happening. But the goal of the game is to amass the most money, drilling for oil, processing oil, buying oil off of markets and reselling it, and selling it at gas stations and building gas stations and stuff. And it's an interesting game. I've played it a few times. I don't have like this great burning desire to play it again soon, but I would if someone was interested in it. Anyway, Crude, the oil game. 351 Spicy. This was on the Spiel des Jahres recommendation list for this year. This has some really cool cards. Kind of this shiny metallic finish on them. But this game is just, if you play like BS or Liar, I think it's called sometimes. When I grew up, we always called it BS, where you're playing cards, but you're lying a lot of times about what cards you're laying down. But if somebody calls you on it and flips it over, then you get a penalty. That's this. It's that game, but with much better rules, and the deck is built in a way that I think is more suited than just a standard 52 card deck that you usually are going to play with if you're playing this at home. And the little rule differences in there really make this game a lot better. It's not a long game, which I play the same time. It's also not the greatest game of all time, but it's not bad. Spicy. 351. Codenames Disney Family Edition. I actually I think I only played this like once or twice when I put the list together, and in between putting the list together and today, I have played this a bunch of times because for some reason my kids have been wanting to play it. And I really, really like Codenames, the original version, and you'll see that much later on the list. But Codenames, this version is a picture version of the game, and the picture version of the game I do not love as much. And these themed ones that are like, so these are all Disney movies, Disney Pixar movies. Um, it doesn't lend itself to creative or interesting clue giving. It is why it's so low compared to some of the other code names that are going to come up. I don't know. But yeah, it's code names. If you like code names, you like Disney, you might like this. But I do think it is a step down as a game. Rook. Again, this is a game my parents really enjoy, and I've played with them. And it's a good trick-taking partnership game, sort of like Bridge. Although I've never actually played Bridge, my understanding it's fairly similar to that, or like Pinochle, which I have played, where you're trying to bid, you and your partner trying to figure out how many tricks you can take and how many points you can take out of the tricks. And so there's a little skill in that betting and understanding how to bet well. Yeah, Rook. Rook's a good game. Like Rook. 348, Roll Through the Ages, the Iron Age. This made a fairly simple roll and write game a little too complicated, but it's still an enjoyable game. Just not as good as Roll Through the Ages. Bronze Age, which was the original one, which is a little less complicated and like just the right level for me. But anyway, Roll Through the Ages, the Iron Age. 347, Picomino. I was first introduced to this game. I found like a website, and it was like a solo player version of it. I played it a bunch. I don't know where I ran into that. I played the actual version a handful of times, multiplayer, and yeah, it's just a fun like push your luck. You're rolling the dice trying to get the tiles with these worms on them, so the chickens can eat them. And anyway, it's a good push your luck dice rolling game. It's not necessarily quick. It can go on for a little while if it gets harder and harder to get hit the win condition with other players blocking you and taking stuff from you. But good game, Picomino. 346, Tricarion, Legends of Illusion. My game group has an inside joke about how you should do the name of the game, which stems from me getting to the end of Tricarion, in which I was just completely destroyed. I don't know how many points I scored. It was not very many. And I was sitting there, I was looking at the box, and I was like, Tricarion? Oh, trick. Like doing magic tricks. It's a game all about magic tricks. And the problem with the game was I didn't do any tricks. I could never get on stage, which is the main way that you're going to score points. And so now we say, what's the name of the game? Do that thing. Ra. Get some Ra. Tricarion. Do some magic tricks. I played this game, and I didn't intend the second time. The second time I actually learned my lesson. I was like, okay, I got to do some tricks. What I didn't learn how to do is how to pull it off efficiently and in a good manner, and I got destroyed again. But got some good stories about Tricarion. I've not done well in it. It does feel a little bloated, maybe, and anyway, but really good production value. The little books that you get and that come with the game, really cool. Tricarion, Legends of Illusion, number 346. Roll for the Galaxy. Another game I'm not super good at. But Roll for the Galaxy, I for some reason I just have a hard time doing well in this game and in Race for the Galaxy as well. But in this game particularly, I have a hard time with those dice. I don't know if I'm just rolling poorly, making poor decisions. Probably making poor decisions. Let's be honest. But anyway, it's a good game though. I played again. 345. Roll for the Galaxy. Similo. This is a game that I've been playing a lot lately. Some of my stepchildren really enjoy it, and I've been able to pull it out with a number of different people. And I almost thought it was going to be too simple at first. Like the first 3 or 4 times, me and my stepdaughter, you're working together trying to get the secret character, and we were just in sync. And I was like, oh man, we're always getting it. But since then, I played a number of times, and people just you outthink yourself. So what the game is, there's 12 characters out there. One is a secret character, and I have to play a card from my hand of other characters that are in the deck. And the only thing I'm allowed to do is put it down in a position that tells you that the secret character is like the card I put down or not like the card I put down. And people just outthink themselves. They get too into it and trying to figure out the similarities, and they outthink themselves. But it's an interesting, getting people to guess. It's like an interesting version of like Guess Who almost, but cooperative. Anyway, 344 Similo. I noticed on Miniature Market that there's a couple more sets coming out. I'll probably pick those up. Nefarious. This is another Donald Vaccarino game. You are a mad scientist, and you are trying to allocate your minions to be the most mad scientisty. Every game has like these twists in the scoring and how the game works, and kind of change the rules in some of them. So every game is just a little bit different. Interesting game. I played it a few times. I'd actually like to play this one. It's been a while since I played it. I feel like I want to play it again. Anyway, Nefarious. This one, 342 and 341, they're separate in the BGG database, which is why I put them in here. But they're basically the same game. Slide 5, 6 Nimmt I've played more often. But when I was trying to find a copy of 6 Nimmt, it was out of print at the time, or I just couldn't find one. In Slide 5 was recommended they're basically the same. I think in the rule book they have a slightly different rule, which is why it's justified as 2 separate games in the database. But all you're doing is everybody's simultaneously picking a card. You're going to put them out into the rows, and the 6th card in the row takes the other 5 cards as scoring cards that you don't want to score. And so you're trying to play the cards that aren't going to hit the ends of the rows. It's a little thinky number game, and I usually play it late at night, kind of usually as a capper to the game night, but I've brought this out with groups that aren't big gamers, and it goes over well. Anyway, 341, 6 Nimmt, and 342, Slide 5. 340, Mafia de Cuba. This is a deduction game in which you get to choose your character as the box comes around you. You're going to take the character, and you can possibly take, I think they're gemstones out of there. And then when it comes back around, the mafia boss is trying to figure out who stole his gemstones, and you get points if you get away with it, and you get the gemstones. But some of the different characters are like the driver or like FBI agents or whatever, and so you're kind of choosing which side you're on and what you're trying to do in the game. But anyway, it's an interesting little game. I think it's worth a play, especially if you enjoy social deduction games. Mafia de Cuba. 339 Imperial Settlers Rolling Right. This took me like 3 or 4 tries just to get the rules right. Playing solo, I have never been able to get this to the table with multiplayer, with more than one player. And I hear there's a pretty good app that helps the game. But yeah, this is a decent rolling right. It's kind of hard though, and it took me a few games to figure out how to take my notes and how to make sure I didn't miss anything, which really helps you score better when you don't forget that you can do certain things in the game or and use certain abilities. But yeah, pretty good game. Imperial Settlers Rolling Right. Evolution, which I played a couple years ago, but I just found a in-shrink copy right here at the thrift store the other day. About Anyway, Evolution. Yeah, this is from North Star Games. People have made Wits and Wagers and Say Anything in those games, but this is like you're trying to own these species and give them evolutionary advantages that helps them survive, and you score points in surviving and in doing different things and eating food. And anyway, it's a fun game, definitely worth a few dollars. You find it at Goodwill. Anyway, Via Nebula. This is a Martin Wallace game, and this is an interesting the way like the pathways are built that you can deliver through. Sort of an action point allowance, but you have 2 points, and most actions cost 1 or 2. I think there's only one action that costs 2 actually, and just kind of which terrain you're on to build through or build your thing. But it's an interesting puzzle in trying to get the right resources pathed back to your building area, so you can build these buildings and score some points. Decent game. I ended up getting rid of this one, and I kind of regret it. I see it on sale sometimes, and I might rebuy this game. Via Nebula. 336 Rolling America. This is a roll and write where you're rolling a color dice out of the bag, and that color kind of dictates where you can put the number. And states that border each other can only be plus or minus 1 from states that are touching each other. And so it's hard. It's really hard. And where you're trying to legally place all of the die rolls, and if you can't, you lose some points. And anyway, it's a good game. Rolling America, 336. 335, Fabled Fruit. This is Friedman Freese. This is another one of those games where like the rules change as you go through the deck. I'm only about halfway through the deck, and I bought the Lime expansion, but I didn't incorporate it into the deck yet. I don't have a group I play this with, but I pull this out every so often, and I just pick up where I'm left off. And so far, I think I like this game better than most of the people I played with. But it's not bad. I enjoy it, and the way the game plays differently when there's different rules cards out is really interesting to me. And maybe because I'm playing with different people, they don't see the interest that I do. But anyway, 335, Fable the Fruit. 334, Werfel Bonanza. This is a cool dice rolling game where you're trying to fulfill kind of these contract cards. So you're rolling these different dice that have beans on them from the Bonanza game. And it's an interesting, it's definitely interesting the way this works and how you fulfill the contracts, and you kind of decide when you're going to stop trying to fulfill that card and move on to the next one. But yeah, Werfel Bonanza, interesting game. 333, Flip City. Flip City is an interesting game. The only real complaint I have about this is it's really easy to cheat. If you're not, when you flip over your deck and shuffle up, you're not supposed to see what's where, and then you kind of have to do this weird thing under the table. And I don't know, but it's a push your luck. You're flipping cards until you crap out or you stop, and you're just trying to do these different things to score points. And when you hit the win condition, yeah, it's an interesting game. Good game. Jumbo, good 2-player game. My main person for 2-player games did not love it as much as I did, and so I don't get to play it as often. And it's a little more complicated than maybe some other games in this line. Like I think like Lost City is from this line, like Kahuna. But yeah, this is a good game. Good 2-player card game where you're trying to get goods and do things with them. Corinth. This is a dice version of Ispahan, I think is what it's called, which I haven't played. This is a pretty good little dice checker where there's a lot of dice. It has one of my favorite rules of all time in it, and if you roll all of a kind with the dice, you win. Not only that game, but all future games uh, that you may play of it, you automatically win. I think it's minimum 9 dice, so 9 of a kind, one roll. Uh, I'm sure it's happened. Not to me though, but silly little rule. But yeah, no, you're rolling these dice, and then you sort them, and you get to take all of the dice of a number and do an action with it. And it has this cool little, like, where you're trying to draw a pathway with a character. You're buying like some superpowers, and yeah, I don't know, good game, Corinth. And that is the end of this list. So we are halfway through. As you can tell, I'm talking a little bit better about these games as they come up. I do really like playing games, and so even bad games, a lot of times I enjoy them with the right group of people. But anyway, as we're gonna go on here, stay tuned. We'll have some more of 5 more videos. And the games will only get better, at least in my estimation. And anyway, this is Elden Killian from EdotGdot and Friends, and we've been ranking all the board games that I've played in the last 10 years. Have a good day.